Okay, we can go ahead and get started today. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to the Community Force training. Today we're going to be covering scholarships, and we're going to be talking about the Notification Center and the Applicant Status Report. Now, I'm Christine Smith. I'm the trainer here with Community Force. And then we also will have on the line with us today Daniel Ayala. He's our sales manager, and he will be assisting me with any questions you may have or any assistance you may have as well. So during our webinar, all of our attendees, of course, are muted. And as we go through the training session, we will break midway through for a question and answer section. At that time, you'll be able to ask any questions, or if you've asked questions ahead of time, we will address those when we break at those moments. So of course, to enter a question, you'll see a dialog box very similar to what I have here on my screen. If you don't see that, you might see this little icon here kind of floating on the top of your screen somewhere or towards the bottom. Look for this little orange arrow. Click the orange arrow and it will open up the dialog box. And then once you open up that dialog box, you'll see something similar to this. And then look for the question box. It may have a little plus symbol next to it. If you click the plus symbol, that will open up, and then that's where you can type in your question. So of course, to type a question, you would just simply type it in here in the box. And then once you type it, you would just go ahead and click send, and that will send it to us. And then of course, when we get to that question and answer section, any questions that you've asked through this question box, we will address at that moment. Also, you'll notice there's a little hand symbol here. So of course, like I said, I do have Daniel on the line. So if anyone is having difficulty connecting, or not seeing their screen, or some other type of information they need assistance with, feel free to go ahead and click that hand raise symbol. And when you click that hand raise symbol, Daniel will see that and he'll be able to address those issues with you. So also, as we go along today, the users that are going to be benefiting from the training session are going to be any of those back-end administrators. So any administrators that have access to the administration dashboard, so like your global admins, your department admins, or any staff members that you've given very limited administrative access to the site. Anyone that's going to be responsible for monitoring applicants as they're applying, needing to see the application forms, as well as maybe even needing to send emails to those applicants. Those are the ones that are going to be benefiting from today's process. And of course, we're going to be discussing the Notification Center. And the Notification Center is where all of the email templates are created. That's where all email templates that our site sends out will be housed in that Notification Center. So of course, what we're going to be discussing is the difference. There's system templates and custom templates. So what's the difference between those? As well as how to edit system templates and as well as custom templates. Also how to create a custom template. So of course, we have specific templates that our system will send out to your applicants, but there could be emails that you like to communicate to your applicants. So we'll show you how to set those up. And then also in the Notification Center, you can do batch emails to applicants based on statuses. So like pending submission is a status. In the Notification Center, you can do a batch email from an application form and say, give me all my pending submission applicants and send this email to those individuals. So we'll be talking about that today. And then also viewing the status of emails that you've sent. So of course, when you send an email from our system using our notify button, or even from the Notification Center, you will be able to view the status. You'll be able to see that they were sent, who it was sent to, and I'll show you how to get to that information as well. So that's the Notification Center. And then also today we're going to be talking about the Applicant Status Report. Now the Applicant Status Report is your main area you'll be looking at, that main report that you'll look at when applicants are applying. So of course we're going to show you how to search for applicants, how to filter for applicants based on statuses, and then also how to track status of applicants. So, are they pending submission? Have they submitted their application? You'll be able to see how to do that today. And then attachments. So if there's any attachments attached to an application form, we'll show you how to access those. If you have staff sections, we'll talk about how to access those staff sections so that your staff members can complete them. And then you also may have a situation where an applicant has submitted their application form. You're doing your review for completeness, and you need to release a section back to an applicant to correct maybe a question that they've answered incorrectly. So we'll talk about how to release sections back. And then also from that applicant status report, you can send emails as well. So we'll be discussing how to send emails from that as also. So let's go ahead and go to our site and begin the training. So of course, to start with the notification center. So when an admin logs in, they will come to our home dashboard. And on the home dashboard, you will see in the lower right-hand corner here, a notification center icon. The notification center icon here is, if I click on it, you'll notice, it will show you all of the emails for every application form, as well as our system global templates. Now, the system global templates will not be linked to any specific application form. And when you look at these names, you can see why. For instance, we have password, forget password. So these are the templates that are based on when a user creates their new account, or they click that forget password on the front page, or you as a grant administrator in the setup users go and change their password. These are all those emails that go out that aren't linked to any specific application form. Now, if I come up here on the select an application and I click on this drop-down box, you will see all of my applications I have on my site. And of course, each application form, you'll see as I click on it, has its own batch of email templates. Now, there are ones that come default on the system. So if I select this application form here, you'll be able to see some of those. So you can see over here, these are the default templates. And over here, we see a template type. System templates are templates that are part of the system that come default on the system. And there are certain triggers that will activate these emails to go out. Now, of course, today, with all these templates, we don't have time to do a breakdown of every single one. But I am attaching a user guide today. It'll be Module 5, the Notification Center, that you'll be able to access, that will explain each one of these templates and what the trigger is for that template. Why is this template? When in the process would it be sent out? And then, of course, what we always request you do is open up the templates, review the message, and then get familiar with that trigger. Because every client, of course, is going to have their own message to their applicants. And so you want to make sure, one, is this a process that's going to be part of your application form? If it is this the message you want to relay to your applicants? So, of course, to open up a system template, it's very simple. In fact, I'm going to go to the submitted one so you can see it. And the application submit confirmation template, that is the email that goes out. And the trigger for this email, of course, is when an applicant completes their application form, they click that submit button. And when they click that submit button, they receive that online message, but they also receive an email. And this is the email that they receive. So let's view the message. So I'm going to click on the name here to do so. And here you will see a description. This is the description. Nobody sees this. This is from the admin's view. But one thing here, this email subject. So the email subject line is something you're going to want to address for sure. The email subject line is that subject line they see when they receive the email. They're going to get the email. It's going to say regarding, and then this is what they see. So of course, you might want to address this subject line on your email templates and type something in there that has meaning to your applicants so that when they get the email, they'll know what it's about. And then down here, we have the body, the template content. And you can see it's very similar to how you would create an email normally or type a Word document. And you'll see here in the box, there are some edit features that you can use. You can change the text font, you can change the size and the text color. And then also in these templates, one thing, when you're modifying a system template, you want to use extreme caution. Because in our system templates, we have these merge fields, such as you see here, and some of them are pointing to very important information that if you remove these merge fields, or you were to add a space in that merge field, or you were to remove one of these brackets, you're going to break the link to that item. So it's very important that you don't remove these, you don't remove the brackets, you don't add spaces to them, you don't try to correct the spelling on them, because that is looking at a specific item. You change that and it will lose that link to that item and it won't relay the correct message to your applicants. However, of course, I did say you can modify these. If you want to modify a template, feel free on the text portions. Feel free to add to those texts. If you want to change the statement, feel free to do so. If you want to add some additional merge fields, you're welcome to do that as well. There is also in that guide that I'm going to attach here, that Module 5, there are the merge fields and what each one of these merge fields is pointing to. So if you want to pick up one of these merge fields and add it to this specific template, you can do so. And of course, to add something to a template, to get the merge field, what you would pick up is you would pick up the item that's in the brackets only. So of course, I'm going to hold down my left mouse key, I'm going to grab it, I'm going to pull it over, I'm going to end it on the end of that bracket, I'm going to Control C to copy it, I'm going to come in here to the document, Control V to paste it, and now I've got that in there. It's very similar. If you're familiar with doing word merges, it's very similar as doing a merge in a Word document. Okay, and then of course, if you do make a modification, you're going to want to update it by clicking Update, and then if not, then we click Cancel, and that'll take us back to this dashboard. Now, of course, like I said, every application form has its own set of templates. So of course, if you change a template in one application form, and you want it changed in another application form, you will have to select that application form, open up that same template, find it, open it up, and then make the change in that one as well. Now, a quick way to do that, let's say I have this message. I've just completed it, I've updated it, I can go back in, I can quickly highlight it, Control C, cancel the one that I just created, go to my new application form, find that same template there. If it's the exact same message, I can open it up, come in here, highlight the information, Control V, and now I've got that new message there. And then click Update to continue. Okay. So those are the system templates. You'll also notice there are some custom templates. Custom templates are templates that are specifically designed for a specific purpose. Custom templates would be any template that you create on the system. So of course, to create your own template, then you would come over here to this Create Template, click on the Create Template, and this box opens up, this screen. It's an empty email, of course. And you want to make sure that this says Add New Template. You don't want to select one of these items. These are just here for a reference point. If there's a template already there that you might want to build off of, you can always click on it, highlight it if you want to use it, Control C, but then come back up here and change this back to Add New Template so that you have this blank screen. Then of course the one you highlighted you can always paste with the Control V by coming in there and hitting Control V. So you can see here, so if we just wanted to not use a template, of course we would make sure this says Add New Template. We come up here above that line, and this is where we give the template a name. So I usually like to follow suit with what I already have so that it does alphabetize it when I look at that listing of templates. Give it a name. Come down here to the description box, and this is where you give it a description of the use for your template. And then of course the subject line, that's what the applicant would see when they receive the email. And then down here, you just simply type the message. So I can come here, I can say dear, and then of course you're probably going to want to put in some merge fields. So of course you just grab those merge fields that you want to add. And then of course, just like you're doing a merge in Word, you do want to add spaces, because if you do group these right next to each other without a space, of course, then it will be merged together as one word. So you do have to do the correct formatting there. And of course, you just come down and hit enter, then create your template. And then maybe you might want to throw in some more merge fields. Just pick up a couple here. Do something similar to this, just a message that you might want to include. Then you can add your salutation here, and then of course pick up an item here. Okay. And then another thing that you can add to your templates, of course, is anytime an email is sent from our system, of course, it comes from our database. And in our database, they cannot reply. So a lot of times I always suggest individuals, if they want to, they can add a statement to the bottom of their emails. And then you can add, there's actually a reply to email. And this actually is looking at in the general information setup of your application form. Each application form has a general information setup. There's a reply from field, and that's what this reply to email is looking at. It's just another means to add an additional email address. Maybe you don't want it coming personally to you. Maybe you have an administrative staff email you might want it to go to. Then you can add that person to the general information, and then they can be the one that can address any questions regarding to emails that you send. So you can just kind of see some of the different areas that these are pointing to. And so of course this is how you would create a template. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And then once you create that template, you will see it'll be here in the listing, and it'll show it as a custom template. Now you also, some of you may, when I say this word, may understand what I'm talking about. If you have these sections, you have request sections. And request sections are nomination sections. Those are those sections that are private sections to applicants. And the applicant is requesting someone to complete those. So a lot of times it's to guidance counselors for transcripts, or maybe you need a parent signature or a letter of recommendation. Of course, the applicant's requesting someone to complete those. Our system is sending an email to that person. And so each request section may have a different message that's needed to go out. So we do have some default templates. The request from applicant template, of course, is the default template. So when you're creating a request section, when you select request section for the section type, and then there's a toggle for request sections, an email field will open up. And the email field, of course, says default email template, which would be this one here. There's also a custom template request for signature. If it's in specific request section where you're looking for a signature, that would be where that one's coming from. But say you have maybe more than these two, and you need to create another message. So you can create templates for nomination sections as well, those request sections. It's the same way as creating a template. You come here, but instead of creating an add new template, you want to change this drop down to add new nomination template. And then you just follow the same procedure to create your template. It's just now it's a nomination template, and the system will know when you create a request section and you hit that email drop down in the build of that request section, it will return this as an available template to use as well. So then of course you'd come down here, enter your information, and then you'll also notice there's some merge fields, and these are important merge fields you want to put in all of your nomination templates. If those items aren't there, then of course there's going to be missing data for those nomination templates, so you would want to make sure you add those to that. Of course, what you could do as well, I do recommend, is if there's one here already, like this request from applicant, you can open it up. You can actually highlight it because a lot of those, you can see a lot of those fields are already in there. Control C, cancel, go to create template, add new nomination template, give it a name, give it a description, give it a subject, then come down here, plug in the message that you just copied, and then make the adjustments here. And then again, be cautious when working around those merge fields. Especially this access code you want to have in there. You want to have this URL. You want to give them the date that they have to complete it by. All of those are important merge information. So let's go ahead and cancel. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, so we're going to stop there. And when we actually get into the applicant status report, I'm going to discuss more about this Notify tab and this Notify status tab, because these are mainly tabs you will use when you are actually accessing the notification center on a specific application form. So let me go ahead and see what questions we have. We'll stop here and look at the questions. So let me go ahead and open up my question box here. Okay, let's see. Okay, someone's asking about automatic push emails. As of this time, we don't have any automatic push emails. I do know that we have done some special adjustments to sites on some of our clients that have allowed some of these push emails. So if you do want something like that, it's always a good suggestion to enter a support ticket and make a request for something similar to that, or for what type of push emails you might like to have. Of course, we always like to look at our support request, and then we always like to make modifications and builds according to the needs of the majority of our clients. Okay, now there is a question about the committee. So when you have a review process and you assign applicants in the review process to your committee members, there's this template here, committee applications are ready for review. Now this is the only template that's available as a template that you can pull on. You can create this template. This template here, of course, if this isn't the message that you want to give to your reviewers, you may have a message that you keep repeating to your committee members. This is the template that you have that you can use and modify. This is the only one we have right now. Of course, your basic message, of course, if you want to change this, change the template here in your application form. Then when you're in your committee review, you can go to this template and you've already got the change made. It's ready for you if you do it in the actual template itself. And then, of course, this is the one that you would use every time you send a notification to your committee members that their reviews are ready to begin. If someone's having an issue with merge fields not pulling into their templates, if you're trying to highlight one and it's not putting it in, you might want to address that with support and see what the issue may be, because they should all be going. If you select a merge field and you plug it in, it should be working when you're creating a custom template. If it's a merge field that's not available, like here, if I'm looking at this listing and I try to put a merge field that's not in this listing, it will not allow that merge field on this specific template. So this is only the merge fields that are allowed on this specific template. Any other merge fields would not be allowed if you tried to plug them in from another area. Someone's wanting to know about the general information tab. So in the setup of the application form, you go to setup applications, and then under the specific application, you choose the application, you open up that setup dashboard, and there's a general information icon. Click on the general information icon, and in that setup functionality for that application and the general information, there's a field called reply from. And that's where you would put the email address that the reply to pulls from. And here I'll show you if I go home, set up application forms, select a specific application, under this general information icon, that reply to is looking at this email address right here. To verify the merged information is correct before you send an email, there is a preview in the notification center. I go home, notification. If I come here, of course, there's no data to merge, so it's not going to give you the merge data, but you can preview to see what it looks like. But of course, if there's no applicants tied to this, it's impossible for it to merge. So if there's no applicants tied, then you won't be able to merge it to that data. You can just see where it's at. And if you're not sure, what I usually recommend is if you have a test applicant, maybe do a test applicant for yourself, and then send the email to yourself. And then you would know then, of course, what merge fields it's pulling on to make sure that you're picking up the correct ones. Yeah, and then of course those merge fields like URL, deadline date, reply to, again, pull the Module 5 guide that's attached today. I'll discuss that at the end of today's session, of course. But there's a Module 5 attached, that handout. And in that handout, at the last section of that handout, there's the merge fields and what each one of those merge fields is looking at. Okay. And our next training session is going to be talking about the review process. So if you have any questions about templates and stuff in the review process, we can go ahead and address them at that next training session, how those work. That'll be part of that training session. And so of course, if you're looking at that reply to email and you want to make a change, then it would simply be a matter of going to that field, changing it to the correct email address, and then being sure to click save on that page. And then again, there's a question about a merge field. They weren't able to pull it in. It wasn't available merge field on the side here. And so of course, if it's not here to the left, then it would not be a merge field that's available to plug into that email template. Okay, and then there's one about group emails. We'll get to that here in a moment. When we get into the applicant status, I'll show you how to send group emails and then how, of course, it addresses the email addresses. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we are at the end of the questions here. So now let's go back home and let's talk a little bit about our applicant status report. So the applicant status report is the report that allows you to monitor your applicants as they are applying. And there's a couple of different ways to access this. So if you're a client and you just have maybe one application, couple applications at a time going, You'll notice, first of all, if an applicant contacts you and you maybe have 10 applications and you're not sure which one they've applied to, we do have a global search feature up here. You'll see this up here. A lot of people aren't aware that this is here, so I'll show you. This is a way, if you have multiple applications, you can find the application that an applicant has applied to. So you can come here if you don't know which application they've applied to, type in their name, and you will have returned to you a listing of the applications that applicant has applied to. So of course there was 2 applicants that matched that search. I can click on their name and then it'll give me all the applications that they've applied to. And then I can simply click on the application and access it that way. That's if you have multiple and you're doing one applicant at a time. However, the main screen for monitoring applicants is here in the evaluations icon on your home dashboard. When you click that evaluations icon, you will see here that every application has its own evaluation process. Select the application form you're wanting to monitor. And applicant status is this icon right here. So I'm going to click on that icon. And when I click on that icon, the applicant status report will appear. This is what it looks like, very similar to this. Of course, you may have different colors. And of course, at the top here, if you're looking for one applicant, of course, you're looking for the applicant, you know that they are in this application form. You can search on their name by entering their last name, either their first name, their email, any one of these items. You can enter all of them or just one of them, and then simply click search, and it'll locate that specific applicant. You'll also notice when you come to this screen that when you first come here, you have a filter. And if it says filter all on status and filter all on status detail, then when you look at the number of applicants, you know that you're looking at all the applicants that have physically started your application form. Physically starting meaning they've come into your site, they've clicked the apply button. If you have pre-qualification questions, they've gotten through those pre-qualification questions, and now they're on their dashboard for this application form and have started it. As soon as they've started it, they don't have to complete it. They've actually gotten to the dashboard of the application form. So this right here, of course, it shows me I have 31 applicants that are in that status. And so I can come up here to status, and you'll notice 2 columns. These are very important for your processes. So we have status and we have a status detail column. So what's the difference between the 2? So the status column is statuses are system or Community Force system statuses. So as an applicant moves through our application process for the Community Force site, we have pre-default statuses that automatically are triggered when an applicant hits a certain status or a certain event. So for instance, you'll see here in my statuses, and you'll also notice this is the report here. This is the column headers. These are the rows in that report. I can actually come up here, anything that's blue with a line. If it's a blue with a line, I can click on that column header and it'll sort those for me. But some of the different statuses we have are, for instance, submitted. So if I come up here and say, give me just my submitted applicants, then it'll give me just those submitted. I can filter on those. If I want just my pending submission applicants, I can filter on those and see I have 26. I can do request pending and see those and see I just have 2. So what are the different triggers for these statuses? Why would I want to look for a specific status? What's the importance of that? So of course, whenever an applicant first starts their application, as soon as they come to that dashboard, they immediately go to this pending submission status. So you can see here I have 26 pending submissions, so that means they've started their application, they haven't necessarily completed it. I can then come up here and the submitted status, what's the trigger for that? So as soon as an applicant completes their application, every section is 100% complete, including the request sections, those nomination sections. If everything's 100% complete, I click that submit button, When I click that submit button and I get the submit confirmation, my status is going to change to submitted. So whenever you see an applicant submitted, you're going to see the date and time they submitted it, and that means that they've completed the application. If you have request sections, they're going to be 100% complete. The next status you may see is maybe a request pending status. So what's the trigger for request pending? A request pending status means an applicant has completed their application form. Every section is 100% complete. They've clicked their submit button. However, they've requested 100%. They have request sections. And those request sections, they've requested individuals to complete them. However, the received column is not 100% complete. So they've asked the person, if this is 100% complete, they can submit. However, instead of being at a fully submitted status, they're going to be at a request pending. If you see a request pending, this is going to say 100%. This is going to say 50% received. And that means that the request pending. So as soon as the individual that's been requested to complete that section, when they go in and complete it and click save on that section, this will go to 100%. And this applicant status will automatically move to submitted. You will not have to move the applicants to these statuses. So when you hit this drop down, you'll notice there's also a filter. This is not a status that an applicant would have, but this is the filter that they would have. So this would allow you to be able to view your submitted and request pending, because remember, request pending, they're submitted, they just haven't gotten those request sections yet. So that's some of the statuses, and then there's also additional info. I'll show you that here in a minute. You have a status of withdrawn, so the trigger for that means the applicant has physically withdrew their application form. On their My Applications tab, they can select an application and withdraw it. If this says withdrawn, that's what the applicant has done. They've withdrawn their application form. When you start seeing under committee review, those are applicants, which our next training session in June will be in regards to your committee process, how to assign applicants. So as soon as you assign an applicant to a committee member for reading in that review process, they will go to under committee review automatically. Then, of course, when you give an applicant a final award in the award section, you save it in the final award, they will go to selected for an award, and then these are, after they've accepted the award, some other statuses that are available as triggers as well. They accept the award by clicking that accept button. They can decline the award by clicking the decline button, and they go to these statuses automatically. So you can see our statuses are automatic triggers. They happen automatically. The only one that's not an automatic is not selected for an award. So of course, if an applicant is not selected for an award, you would have to put the applicant to that status manually, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. Now the other column is status detail. You can kind of see in my illustration here, I don't have anybody with a specific status detail. Status details are for our clients to define. This is a default list. You can see I've made adjustments to my default list. This list is defined by the client. You can add as many status details as you wish, and you can even remove the ones that we have if you haven't used them. But this is a list that you as a client can create a list of status details. Status details are for you to track applicants in your steps and processes. So for instance, let's say once an applicant submits, before they go to committee review, so they're at a status of submitted, you may do a review for completeness, and you may want to enter a status detail so that you know you've done your review for completeness and you've qualified that applicant to go to committee. So to add a status detail to an applicant, so you would create the list. Of course, there's no automatic triggers that put them at that status. You would come here, select the applicant you want to put at a status. So let me go find my test applicant here. Let me do all. And here I'm going to do a display all so I can get everybody on the page. So now I have page 1 of 1. And where is my applicant? Okay, so this one here. So let's say, let's do this one. Let's say this applicant, I've gone through and I've done my review for completeness and I want to qualify them. So I can select this applicant, I can do multiple at the same time. So if I had more than one I wanted to put to the status detail, I could do so. Or if I just had the one, then I would just select that one. Select the individual, come over here where it says change status detail to, and here I could maybe say qualified stage 1. Then when we get into the review process, I can filter the ones that I've qualified so that those are the only ones that I have coming up in my review process. Then I come here, I click change applicant status detail. Once I do that, a comment box opens up. You can bypass this box, but I recommend that you go ahead and type something in here. And a lot of times I will put my initials, then click save. And now you'll notice now they have a status detail that I can filter on. You can filter on those just the same way as you can on statuses. Another way that our clients use these is they may have multiple levels to their review process. So we have a status of under committee review, but you need to know what stage of that committee review they're in. Then you could create status details to do so. And status details are created by global admins only. That's in the administration dashboard under status details. Of course, we did have a training session on global administrative functionality in December. So you can always review that webinar in regards to how to create status details. When creating status details, remember it's a site, it's a universal setting on your site. So it's not just for one application process, it would be for every application process you have on your site. So you would want to get together with your team and discuss what are those statuses that you might want to use. Some of our clients use status details and some of them choose not to. But that's what status details are. Those are client-defined statuses for you to track applicants with your processes. You also have the ability to change an applicant's status here. You might ask, well, why would I want to do that? Well, let's say you are past deadline and you're looking at your applicant's application form and you see an applicant similar to this one. So I have this applicant and I see she's got her request sections completed and she's pending submission, but when I click on her name over here, and clicking on their name is how you access their application form, takes you to their dashboard. And I'm looking and I see she's 100% complete on everything. Her request sections are complete. I can click here on request sections. I can see who she requested. It was been requested, received. She's completely done, but it's past deadline. She just did not click that submit button. I can't call her up and contact her and say, hey, go in and click the submit button, because remember there's a lock after submit, after the deadline, they can't go in and submit. So if I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, I can actually change an applicant's status for them. And so it's the same process. So if I wanted to move her, of course, since she couldn't physically do the trigger, I can move it for her. I can select her, come up here to the status, change it to submitted, click the change applicant status button, do the same thing. And then click save. And now I have that applicant as a submitted applicant here. Now you'll notice when I enter those comments, they will show here in this comment column. That's what this comment column is for. Any comments you enter on that applicant, they will show here. If you have a payment linked to your application form, once they pay that fee, remember, if you do have a payment, that is something that we set up, with a third-party software. It's a setup done by our implementation team. So if you have that payment question and you've got it set up with the integration to that party software, they answer the question. Once they get to the question, they click, they go to the third-party software, they make their payment, they come back, and then it will say is paid yes. That's what this is paid column is for, and then the date that they paid it. This red X is a no-no. This means if you click that, you will delete that applicant's application form, and it's gone forever once you delete their application. You will get a warning, but if you do continue with the deletion, it will be gone forever. The requested and received, so if you want to see here, like for instance, I have an applicant, the request pending. So I can click on either the requested or received. So this 100% means they've requested 100% of the request sections. 50% means I've had 2 request sections and there's been 1 individual that's completed it. If I want to see who it is, I can click on it. This will give me who the applicant has requested to complete it, the email of that individual, the date, if you're curious, if an applicant, you want to know when applicants are requesting, you can see when they requested it, and the person that has not done it yet. So if you wanted to send an email to this individual, you could do so, notifying them that it's getting close to deadline, the applicant has requested them to complete the section and they haven't done so. You can do it, or you might want to put the benefit on the applicant and have the applicant contact that person to get this request done before the deadline. Now you'll also notice in here an access code. This access code is viewable only to the administrator. You do not want to give the applicant this access code, because this is how the requested individual accesses the site from the login screen. So remember, on request sections, there's an access code field that gives them this code. And the purpose of that is, let's say someone has security on their email. The guidance counselors, maybe with the high school, they may get this email, but they're not allowed to click on links and access, because there's a link in that email they can click on. They click the link and it takes them to the section there to complete. If they can't click on the link, there's also this access code that's in the email. They can then go to the login screen. There's a login screen. There's actually on the login screen a nominator login. They can click that nominator login and it'll say access code, and they can type in this code and be directed directly to the section they've been invited to. So of course, if you give this to the applicant can do the same thing. They can click that nominator login, they can enter the code and complete the section themselves. So that's why you don't want to give that to them. They don't have access on their screen. You as the admin have access, but they don't. Also, an important feature to notice is this resend here. I'm currently logged in as Community Force Support. So if I try to resend this email, the resend isn't going to say it's coming from the applicant. It's going to say it's coming from Community Force Support. So that's an important note to know, that when this resend is done, it's going to say Community Force Support has requested you to complete this section. So that's something you might not want to do yourself. You might want to have the applicant do it, so that it has the applicant's name. They log in, they click the resend, and they can send it. If an applicant needs to change their request, it's just simply a matter of coming in, clicking on the individual they want to change the request for. They click OK. They click on it, and of course I'm not logged in as an applicant, but they would just change the name and then click Save, and then that new person would be requested to do that. So I'm going to go back to the applicant status report. So that's the requested and received. We'll talk about Notification Center here in a minute. Let's go back into the applicant's application and talk about that a little bit. So this is the applicant's dashboard. So when you click here, know that you are on that applicant's dashboard. So if you click into any of these icons, you are changing that applicant's information. This is also where you access staff sections. So remember, staff sections are built as admin sections. They're tagged as a staff section when they're built. Applicants cannot see staff sections. However, a staff member that has access to this screen can click on this icon, Once they click on that icon, they can go in and complete the section for the staff section, click Save and Return to Dashboard to save their information. Then once they save it, that would be saved, and then this would show you the staff and how much has been completed. This is the staff section. The applicant does not see this. I'm going to go back out. I'm going to go on my test applicant here. Okay, so if I was an admin and I click on this icon, and this is where you want to use extreme caution because remember this is the applicant's dashboard, and you're scrolling through and looking, if you accidentally change a question and you don't realize you did it, you hit Save and Return to Dashboard, you've just changed that applicant's information. If you meant to do that, that's fine. However, if you didn't mean to do that, then you probably, anytime you're looking around on an applicant's dashboard, don't get in the habit of hitting Save and Return. There's a Return to Dashboard that keeps you from saving that information. Try to get into the habit of hitting that Return from Dashboard so you don't make their changes. If you mean to make changes, then of course, yes, please hit the Save and Return, but always get into the habit of that return. Now you could have applications where you have questions that you're asking an applicant to upload a document. How do you retrieve that document? Let's say they upload a PDF or they have a document that's an Excel document. You need that Excel format. How do you get that document? They've uploaded as an Excel document. How do you access it? You can come here to Preview Application, a quick way to do this. It's going to open. You can see their application form. You can print this. This is a grid view. You can go to the exact question that the applicant has answered to get the document, or you can scroll all the way to the bottom. There'll be a section like this one, the title, the question it belongs to, the date it was uploaded, and you just simply, when it's in blue, you just click on it, open it up, and it'll open it in the format that they downloaded it, and then you can access those transcripts that way. Okay? And that's how you access the documents. And this is a separate tab. So of course, to go back, you would close this tab. Whoops, went too far. And it'll take you to the application. And then of course, to go back to the applicant, you just click applicant status and you're back to that applicant status section. So that's how you view those documents if you need to capture a document in a specific format. You also notice we have PDF functionality here. We have admin PDF, applicant PDF, and reviewer PDF. What that does is that creates a PDF of the entire application form along with any attachments that have been attached as documents. It'll be one PDF of that entire application and the attachments. So of course, to get a PDF, there's three options. Admin PDF gives you every section and every question that's in that application form. Applicant PDF will give you every section and every question that is viewable to the applicant. So if you have staff sections that are hidden, you have request sections that are hidden from the applicant, or if you have questions that are hidden from the applicant, those are omitted in the applicant PDF. Same with the reviewer PDF. If you have sections and questions hidden from the reviewer, when you run a reviewer PDF, those sections and questions will be omitted. So it's just a matter of coming here, locating. You can select the applicant you want the PDF for, determine what type of PDF you want. I'm going to do admin. You can see once I select it, it's going to download it eventually. There. And then you just click on it. And now I have a PDF version that I can save to my folder. And it's the PDF. And then along with the PDF is any of the attachments that are attached to it. That's one long PDF document. Now you also notice we have the batch feature for admin and reviewer only. So what that does is that allows you to select multiple applicants. I can select multiple. And instead of just getting one PDF, I can do a batch. And it's going to create a zipped folder for me. Instead of just an individual PDF, it's going to create an entire folder. And all the applicants that I've selected will be in that folder. Their PDF will be in that folder And then, of course, I can take that entire folder and save it to my local server or where I would like to save it, where I would like to keep a record of it for these applicants. So I would select them, and then you'll notice it does take a little while because I'm selecting and it's got to compile it. Once it's done, I've got the zip folder. I can open it up, and for some reason I'm having trouble with my Windows today. I don't know what's going on, but it will open up a folder, and that folder will then allow you to click on it, and then you'll see the PDFs that are in that. Let me see if I can go around the back door here and get it that way. Here we go. Yeah, it's being stubborn. It's my Windows application's acting up for some reason. Okay. So that's how you would get the batch. You'll also notice this export to Excel. So what the export to Excel does is, of course, I can click export to Excel. Here's my column header. Here's the rows. This is the column header in my Excel sheet. These are the rows. I can click export to Excel. Once I click export to Excel, it'll open up that document, and then I can open it, and then I have the Excel format ready to go. So emails. So we stopped on the notification center in regards to emails. How do I communicate with my applicants now? So you'll notice a notify button here. This is how you send emails to applicants from this screen. If you want to send an email to an applicant, it's a very simple process. You just come here, select the applicant or applicants you want to send it to. This is going to answer somebody's question. They wanted to know how the emails display. So if I select multiple, or if I just select one, I come over here then and I click notify. And when I click notify, I see the email address of all the individuals I've selected. Now this is a blind copy. This is only going to that individual. They don't see the email addresses of the other individuals that I've addressed. But of course I just select them. I come here. If I have a template already, I can come here, find the template I want to use. If I want to use the one I created earlier, I can do so, or I can just come here and type a message briefly here. Once you have the email created, I'm just going to grab one here real quick. Deadline approaching, here we go. So if I wanted that template, I would select it. Here's my template. I can hit send now, and it will send it to those individuals immediately. I also have the ability to schedule an email. So if I schedule an email, what will happen is it opens up a date and time, and this is currently Eastern time. We do have a new feature coming out in the next couple of months that you will be able to set your time zone on your site. So depending on the time zone you're in, the site will pick up that appropriate time for that time zone. Right now it's still at Eastern time, but it's just a matter of selecting the date. So if I wanted this to go out Friday, and then the time 2 p.m. on Friday, or I can change it to another time. Maybe I want it to go out at, I don't want 3 a.m. of course, but maybe I want it to be 3 p.m. So I'm saying 5/19, 3 p.m., send this email to these individuals. So I can click save for sending on date scheduled. That date and time will hit. It's in a spool ready to go out. Unfortunately, once you've sent it, you cannot retrieve it. So it's going to go out on that date and time to the individuals that you've selected. So I can click save and then send that email at that time. So I'm going to go ahead and click it on that one so you can see what happens when you create an email. So once I've sent an email, this notification date column here will appear with the date. This date is the most current date of the last email that you've sent. So whatever the very last email was sent to them, this is the date of that specific email. And you can see that. And then we'll get into the notification center here in a minute in regards to batch. And then also, of course, if you've sent 3 emails to this person, you're only seeing the most recent one. How do you access that? So one more thing I want to talk about on the screen before I go back to the notification center is releasing sections. So a section release is a function that's performed on a submitted application. And a submitted application, let's say you're going through, you're looking at the applicant's application form, and you're seeing that that applicant maybe hasn't or answered a question wrong, and you want to release the section back to them. So of course you can release a section, and it's simply a matter of clicking the released here. It says released no. Clicking that release, it will open up this screen. Find the section that houses the question. Unfortunately, you do have to open up the entire section. Find the section, and as soon as you select the section you want to release, a deadline date opens. Now you do want to use caution if you have request sections. If I was to come down here and on a request section that's already completed, if I release a request section, that removes that individual that they've requested, and they need to re-request. The applicant would have to re-request that person to complete that section. So it doesn't open up and send it to that person. Remember, this is an email to the applicant. So if you release a request section, the applicant has to request that person would then get an email and go through that way. So if you do that, then they have to start from square one again with those sections. So use caution when releasing those, because you might not want the applicant to have to invite someone else. So of course, you'll also see there's a deadline date. This is the deadline you're giving them to complete that release. I'll say I'm going to release it, and I'm giving you till Friday. Okay, the most important function is this comment box right here. There's an email that goes out, and the email is called Application Additional Information Requested. That's an important email template that's part of this process. It's triggered by this process. And there's a field in that email template called Comments. So of course you don't want to remove that comments from that email template, as well as there's a field called Sections. You don't want to remove that, because that email template is, those fields are saying what the section is, the deadline date they have to complete it. The comment box is where you're going to be as explicit, and you're going to explain this as clearly as possible to your applicants as to why you're releasing the section. Because of course they see family information, they have till May 19th, but they don't know why they've gotten this back. So you're going to explain why they're releasing this and be as clear as possible in your explanation. And then if you want to see what the email looks like, you can hit preview. And you'll see here's the email, here's that comment, here's the section date, the section name, and the deadline they have to complete it by. It's called Sections. And then another important function with this process is this statement right here. And it says, after you've completed your updates, click the Submit Application button. So if you don't feel like that is clear, you might want to go to the template and adjust the template. Because what happens is as soon as you release this, I'm going to hit Save an Email. It's going to send the email to that individual. If I click Save, it doesn't send an email, but you want to do Save an Email to send the email. And then once I send that email, their status is going to change to Additional Info Requested. They will stay at this status until they complete the section. Once they complete the section, they have on their dashboard that Submit button will appear again. They must click that Submit button again in order for them to go from Additional Info back to Submitted. You'll see here they also say yes. Here's the comment of what I entered here. So that's how you release a section. If you want to undo a release, it's just a matter of clicking the yes, going in, removing this, clicking Save, and then it'll remove that releases section. I don't want to remove that just yet though. Okay. And then it would remove it, and then they would go back to the status that they originally were. So you can kind of see that's the status, Additional Info Requested, and that's the trigger, of course, is releasing that section back. So I'm going to stop here and see if we have any additional questions, because I can see the question list getting quite long. So I'm going to stop here and address some of those questions. So let me just kind of scroll up here where we left off. Someone's asking, they don't see the Search Applicants option, which is this option right here. There is a site setting, the exact name of it, I'd have to go look at the site setting, that you can turn this off and on. And I think it's called Enable Search Applicants, if I remember right. That's a site setting that can turn this off and on. If you're not seeing that, that site setting probably needs to be set by the global admin. And then, of course, the committee questions, that'll be in next month's training. So go ahead and attend next month's training in regards to anything in regards to the committee review process, and you'll have those questions answered. Okay, so someone has a question in regards to showing a report that shows applicants and the icons and what's the percentage complete. There is a report I'll show you here in a minute that shows all the sections, shows the applicants, all the sections, and then the percentage complete for those sections. And that's called our section status report, and I'll show you that here in a minute. You might find that useful. So if you hang on, we can show you that. So withdrawn and deleted applications are different. Withdrawn means they've submitted and they physically withdrew their application. Deleted, they would actually click the delete button and it would be gone completely. It would no longer be on this listing. Withdrawn means it stays on the list, but it shows withdrawn. Deleted, it would completely be removed from this screen. So user-defined statuses, those status details, no, there's no automatic trigger because, of course, every client has different triggers, and so it would be impossible for Community Force to design triggers for the status details of the clients because everyone has a different function, a different purpose for use of those status details. So you would have to manually put those on. But of course, like I said, you can do multiple. It's a very simple process. Select them, come here, change status to, pick the status you want to put all those individuals to, click applicant status detail, and they're all on that status. Whoops. If you have instances that maybe you had something with your PDF that wasn't operating correctly for some reason, hopefully you entered a support ticket. And of course, that was probably just the question you're asking. I'm not seeing I've never heard of this on anybody else's site. So of course you would enter a support ticket, and if it's still an issue with your site. If you are sending emails, and of course emails, especially when you send batch emails from a system, a lot of times people have high security, especially if they're at a bank or a school. So of course, prior to starting your application process, if you're working with schools, the guidance counselors, you might want to recommend that they make communityforce.com an approved sender, and then that'll keep them from being spammed. Of course, there's no way when you're doing group emails to keep every organization and every person from not getting them set to spam. So of course, the best thing is do a broadcast email to those individuals that you work with a lot and let them know to make communityforce.com an approved site. The time zone right now is not a feature that's available. That's coming. Once that comes, we will do a release and let you know how to do that. However, that time zone, that setting will be in site settings where you will change that once it's available. Okay, so that addresses those questions. So let's go back real quick to the notification center. But before I do so, that question about that section status report, let me show you that real quick. It's here. Here's applicant status where we just were. Under reports, there's a section status report that many find helpful as applicants are applying. Click the section status report. It will take a while if you have several applicants. If you have what it's doing, it's compiling every application, looking at every section, compiling that information. So once it compiles it, it will open it here. It's going to take a minute or two. Okay, so here's the report. Here's the applicant's name. There's no drill down functionality on this, but you can see here's all the sections in my application form percentage complete. Unfortunately, it doesn't show their status, so you don't know if they're pending submission or where they are, but you can always export this to Excel, save that Excel document maybe and have it available. And then when you go back to the applicant status report, you can check on the ones that were 100% complete. Are they pending submission or not? And then, of course, those might be individuals you might want to contact and say, hey, I see you're 100% complete on everything. You haven't clicked submit. The deadline hasn't come yet, so you might want to contact them and let them know through that notification. Okay, so let's go back now to where we were on the applicant status. We're on that evaluation dashboard, applicant status. One quick thing, if you release a section, this section releases the same way to do so. However, what this does is it groups the unreleased at the top and the released at the bottom. So if you have several released, you can just come here. They'll all be grouped at the bottom. Same process. If you want to release someone, click no and go through the same process to do that. And then they'll show at the bottom once you release them. The notification center, going back to that, remember I said you could send emails by batch. So this notification center, you notice, is in the evaluation dashboard. We're not on the home screen. We're now on the evaluation dashboard. So when I click this notification center, the difference is I don't have that select. I only see the templates for this one application form. So here, I can do the same, same templates. If I make changes here, it's making it on that other page. It's the same page. It's just for this application form. I can create templates just for this application form. If I click this Notify tab, this Notify tab is looking at this application form, and I can send an email. You can see it's just like sending a Notify individually, but I can come here and choose a status. Say I want to choose all my pending submission, and I want to send an email by that status. I can do a batch email. Shows me I have 25 users. I can do the same if I'm using status details. I can pull on those. I can then pick a template if I have one and go ahead and send it, and it would send that email. If I preview, in the preview, it will show me all the applicants it's going to in case I want to know who those 25 individuals are if I'm looking for someone specific. I can close the preview, and I can use today's date to send it with the current time, or I can say don't send this until Friday, and then it would send that email out. I would want to make sure I add a subject line, and then it would send it out on Friday. Now, as of right now, know that when I create this email, it's creating it today based on the pending submission that are set for today. I have heard we are getting a enhancement to our site that will allow this to make the adjustment, but that hasn't come yet. But as of right now, when you select pending submission, 25, these 25 individuals, it's not going out till Friday. If their status changes to submitted, I build it today. They were pending submission today, so it's going to send it to them. So in this message, if you're doing that, you might want to make that adjustment to that message. Okay. So it's just a matter of clicking the status, and then that's who it's going to send that email to. That's how you do batches of emails by batch, by status, in a specific application form. The Notify Status tab is kind of like your sent box. So once you send an email, or once you have clicked send or schedule for send, it'll consider it sent, because remember I said if you schedule it and you send it, it cannot be retrieved. But this is where you see any email you sent using this Notify tab here, or you selected the applicant in a report and clicked a Notify button. Those emails will show here, so you can keep track of who you sent it to, when you sent it, did a specific applicant get it. You'll see if you chose a template, the template that went out, the subject line, the email date and time, and the status of that email. Of course, this says not sent because remember I said schedule this for Friday at 3 p.m. So Friday at 3 p.m. this will change to sent. And then of course here's who it went to. If I want to see what the message was, I can click view. I can view it, and then here's the message that was sent to them. And I think someone did ask a question, how do you know what fields it's picking up? Of course, if you've sent it, you can come here and you can see the merges and what it was picked up in that merge. Okay, so that actually is going to be the end of our session today. I'm just wanting to make sure we've covered everything. There is one more report I can show you. If I go to the home screen, and before I go there, I wanted to show you a recommended report, but let's see if we have any questions. So just as I mentioned, this is showing any email that you send from the system. So if you click notify here, this notify tab, and send an email, it's going to show in the notify status. Or if you send an email in applicant status, select the individual, click the this notify button here. Anytime you click a notify button like this one in other reports, you've selected the applicant, click notify, send the email. It will show in the notify status screen. That's where they would show as to who it went to and the date and time that it went out in that notify status screen. Okay, so one more report real quick and then we'll close for today. I know we're kind of getting over time a little bit. We got a little bit of a late start. So here on the home screen, if I go into batch awards, all scholarships, this applicant status report here is the same as the applicant status on an individual application. However, remember this says all. So this allows you to click on that. And if you have multiple applications and you don't want to go in, then come back out, go in, go out, this allows you by academic year to select the listing of applications, or if you didn't want to do it by academic year, you could do all. Then select your all here, if you had that, and then you can actually select the application. I actually want this one. So you can see it gives you the listing of all the applications you've got going at that time. So you could switch. If I wanted to see this one, I could open up that one. I can switch. I can then say, okay, I want to see this one. I can open up that one. It takes you to a quick access to all the applications, applicant statuses. Same report, same functionality on it. Also, you have a recommender report. This will give you, if you have one application, it's only going to give you the one, but if you have multiple, it will combine all of them, but it does give you the application name here. So of course you can filter on that column. Remember, anytime you see this in a report, blue with a line, you can filter alphabetically. You can sort it, not filter. Group it. So here's this application's name. But what this is showing is if you have request sections, it's showing you who the applicant was, who they requested, and the current status of that request section, when it was requested and whether it's been received yet. So sometimes this is helpful, especially for a lot of them that do scholarships for schools, and you as the admin are working with those guidance counselors to get those transcripts. This is a quick way to come in here, see what guidance counselors you need to contact and who they're at, give them a listing of who their applicants are. You can actually export this to Excel, and of course you can do a mail merge and send emails to them, or a listing of the applicants, their students that have applied that they haven't done their sections on yet. Okay, so that's the recommender report and reports, all grants and fellowships. Go home. And then also something I didn't mention that is an important element. A majority of our clients know this, but there are some new ones on the line that I just want to clarify this, is when you are viewing reports, the email address, the applicant name here is coming from their login information. So whatever their email address they logged in with and their applicant name that they logged in when they created their user account, that's the name and email. So of course, in the application form itself, if you're asking for first name, last name, email in that application form, that's not what the system communicates with. The system picks up their login and the email address that they logged in with. And that's what it communicates to, is that email that's identified when they created their user account. So of course, Always tell your applicants when they're creating accounts that has to be a valid email, because that's how we communicate with you through the site. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any further questions. So I'm going to just quickly show you here. Let's go back to the screen here. And handouts. So since we're closing the session today, if you do have any additional questions, of course, you can always enter a support ticket through Zendesk. But also notice you should have a section right under the questions that says handouts. If you don't see it, if it's a plus sign, click the plus sign to get the little negative sign. Once you hit that, it'll give you these handouts. You can click on them, open them up, download them. You have to click on them and download them. And then once you click on them, you can have a copy of that, and I recommend that you do that. And then, of course, like I said, support tickets through Zendesk. You also, today's webinar, anyone who attended or registered, will be sending a copy of the webinar to them. And then also just a quick access so that you know the availability. If you come down here, there's a help button on your site. And when you click that help button, it should direct you to the knowledge base where you can enter a support ticket by clicking the support ticket. That will take you to the Zendesk. If you go to videos, webinar, this will be once we're done with today's webinar. Within the next couple of weeks, we will be adding this webinar to this listing. And if you want to see the listing of available webinars that we've held already, you can click this little list here, this playlist. It'll open up and you'll see the webinars that we've held so far. So like that status detail, how to create those. You'll see this Global Admin Session 1, Session 2, and Session 3. Those explained this. One of those had the status details setting functionality. I want to say it was probably Session 2 that covered that, if I remember right, 2 or 3, because 1 was mainly on site settings. Okay, so again, that's it for our session for today. I appreciate your time. I apologize we did go over a little bit. We did have quite a few questions to answer, so I hope we were able to answer your questions. And again, I do know there were some questions I didn't answer. We're referring to our next training session, which will be Tuesday, June 20th. In that session, we'll be talking about the evaluation process. And the evaluation process in regards to how to set it up, talk about your scorecards, your committees, how do you build your committees, and then how do you make those assignments. So in that session, we will be covering, I'll just show you real quickly, this evaluation setup tab here and how to do all that. Create your scorecard, build your committees, and then make the assignments to the applicants. So that'll be the next session. And then, of course, I'm going to leave the site open for a little bit so you can download the 2 modules. Module 5 talks about the notification center. That's where you'll get an explanation of the different templates as well as any of the merge fields. Module 8, applicant status, will go into detail on the applicant status screen. And there is some functionality we didn't have time to go into detail. It's mainly for clients that have a special feature set up on their system. And so some of those special features on applicant status, like the import applications, import applicant data, those 2 icons are explained in that guide as well. So again, I thank you for your time, and I'm going to close the session. And like I said, I will leave it open just a little bit, maybe about 5 more minutes to give you time to get those modules. So thank you very much.